Welcome and thanks for joining me for this webinar. I'm very happy to be hosting. This topic is very, personal to me. I know this year's been trying for everybody, so we're going to cover some things regarding mental health and the working from home process. Not everybody really expected this year to be what it was, so we're going to cover a bit of that. A little bit about myself. My name is Dave Consul. I'm a technical sales engineer over here at Weavy, and I build proof of concepts for clients, onboard them. I love video games, love dogs. And the biggest thing and why I wanted to chat about this is because I've worked from home for 6 years before the pandemic. So there's a lot of things I've, you know, experienced over the years I'd love to share. Now, keep in mind, I am in no way a licensed professional or therapist or anything like that when it comes to dealing with some emotions that may happen. So this is just kind of my experience from working from home over the last 6 years and how that's changed with Corona. So, a little bit of what is different between a normal situation where you have a standard go to an office type of work scenario, there's a few different areas that definitely stand out for me when you're working from home versus an office. Is there's a social distance, quite literally this year, right? And then there's a separation distance, and then there's a distance in the energy and feeling change and things like that. So, with a social place in mind, we have things like, gym isn't around to put your stapler into Jello anymore. And there's no more lunch trips or walks with colleagues. This kind of, interaction is something you almost take for granted when you have it every day and don't realize maybe what it means until you don't. You don't know what you got until it's gone. Classic line. Then there's separation. Usually you would actually physically go somewhere for work. Get up, go, leave. Now you're in the comfort of your own home, which has many pros, but many cons as well. You might feel a pressure to work all the time since you are constantly now at work, or even on the opposite, to not work and to do things around the house. And that makes it very challenging. And lastly, feeling the change in energy. There's something to be said about having a home gym or having uh, going to the gym, right? For me, person who likes to be physical and likes to work out, I actually have a home gym, but I prefer going to the actual gym. I see other people doing exercises. I get ideas from that. It sparks my motivation. I see people doing 10 more push-ups or 20 more squats. And I'm like, I can outdo them or I can run longer. And it's this whole, they're doing it too. So am I. So you have that whole feeling that energy. And that's very important. The same goes with work. You go to a workplace and you see people working head down, hammering it out. And you want to be a part of that, and is really nice for motivation. At home, you don't have that, so it can be a little challenging when instead of somebody also working, you have either a roommate watching television or having fun with their friend on the phone, or your dog trying to um, get every ounce of your attention and doesn't understand why you stare at a screen for so long. And then also there is sometimes things that come with the workplace, of course, perks, going to an office, a nice office, and seeing maybe that nice view from the top floor. And if you get a promotion, you might get an office of some sort, or something like that. But in this case, if you get a promotion, you might not even get that little, name change and that little, or that little corner desk or whatever it might be that can come along with it. So sometimes, things are hard to feel when you're not in an actual office. So it can feel a little different. So socially, for me, what I noticed over the years, uh, I started to feel a bit lonely when I didn't have coworkers day to day, and I felt isolated. I didn't feel a part of things, and I was a little depressed. And inside of, you know, not having any outlet for that, it was very hard for me to get used to at first. And then when it comes to working from home and that being your space and office, I had developed a new sense of anxiety. I felt more stressed to be working all the time and was doing very, very, very long hours through that whole process. I also then um, some days wouldn't have much energy because I was starting to feel all these things. I was starting to feel lonely and isolated and sad, and um, that kind of starts to overtake that anxiety sometimes, and you feel, and then like you should be working all the time, you feel a little bit lethargic and slow moving, and you don't feel that reward because there isn't that success when something great happens and the whole office is like, oh yeah, like that. You don't have that kind of experience necessarily. You might get an email that goes out, but that is a much different feeling. Sometimes it's like, congratulations to this person, versus like a whole company meeting in person, and you feel applause, right? Maybe you got a promotion and you feel that applause, or maybe someone did good, or the company did great, and there's that big clap. It doesn't come through quite the same on Zoom. So there's a lot of variety there. And how to help with these situations is something that I've developed over the years and been fine tuning, and still am open to suggestions when it comes to this, because you can never, uh, know enough. So socially, you want to make sure you call and connect with coworkers beyond an email or beyond a Slack or beyond an instant message. You want to get that feedback, that personal engagement. Get to know them. Don't forget to ask, oh, what have you been watching on TV? Or the typical things that you normally would. What did you do last night? All that stuff that you normally would get sometimes gets missed, but it's a very important of a relationship that you want to build. You have to focus on relationships in this environment, and then you can thrive. So just hop on Zoom calls a couple times a week or even daily, just for a little bit. Also, team building exercises are great, game nights, things like that. Also, have lunch via Zoom. There used to be a break room. You would go in and maybe you would have lunch with Frank or with Heidi one day. But with that not being a thing anymore, try opening it up. Even maybe putting a Zoom link on LinkedIn, say, hey, anyone of my connections wants to have lunch right now? I'm eating. Is anyone else eating alone? And kind of sitting bored and maybe wants human interaction this day and age. um, Also, with the workspace, you want to try to keep things separate, and separate yourself from work at home. You're feeling that you might want to work all the time, but if you are able to keep a desk in an office, a complete separate space, do so for sure. That way, it's out of sight, out of mind. If you don't, perhaps the desk goes in a closet. Maybe it's a collapsible desk, or you can even just uh, change it completely. It might be easier if you don't have that luxury. Of course, there's other options where you can kind of disguise it in a certain way. Maybe put something around it while you're working and keep your focus, and then you don't think about your home life. Or you can put a little divider up, and then you're not seeing your work space, and you don't need to think about it, and you're not getting stressed when you're trying to relax. So I try to separate those as much as possible. Maybe even use a different computer for what you want to do and what you do for work. And take breaks. Make sure you don't just sit there all day. You want to get up and get out of the house, go for a walk or something. And a way to achieve all this and still be productive, because it's easy to go in the other direction, is to set a clear schedule when you are working and when you're not working. You want to make sure that when we're working, your dog is not gonna say, "All right, but play with me," because I mean, if you have a dog or a child or a roommate, anything like that, they're gonna want to interrupt. Interruptions and distractions come up a ton, and you want to set a clear line saying, "Hey," to your roommate or to your animal companion, "This is my working time. We're gonna hang out. Or we're gonna play later." And maybe it's easy for your dog to sleep on the bed behind you or at your feet, or it's best if you maybe just shut the door and have some time away, just like you would if you were going somewhere. That way there isn't a distraction and everything's good. They can hang out and do their thing, you can get your work done. And then you also want to get ready. I know this sounds a little wild, but get up, have a routine, brush your teeth, shower, And like you're going to work, make your coffee, get ready, get dressed, and then you will feel like you were ready for work instead of like getting up from your bed, rolling over, answering those emails. You didn't prepare yourself mentally for that. There needs to be some sort of process, and you'll find yours. But that helped me a ton. Then also, um, another thing you can do to kind of feel more energy and like you're also working alongside people is to hop on a virtual Zoom to do an office virtual office type of scenario. Everybody comes together for a couple hours, and you could leave this something this you could have open all day long, and it's just an office where, much like you are actually in the office, people could just randomly say like, oh, I had a question about this other thing, or does anybody have anything fun going on in their lives, and keep that camaraderie up. So that's great. And then also never downplay congratulating your employees or yourself. If you get that promotion, maybe get that new uh, mouse you've been wanting or something along those lines, something great. Uh, and then make a big deal out of it if your employees do something successful. Host a big meeting, do what you can to play some music. Small things go a long way. Get everybody to get engaged that way more than just in email, and announcing things that way is much more fun. Now, an example of like a schedule, something you want to do, just completely schedule out your days. You have here everything personal that you would need to do in the morning, and then shower and eat. And then, of course, check your emails, prioritize your day, and then have some space in between for some meetings that might get scheduled. And then prioritize what you need to work on that day and put them in those slots. And everybody has a different job, and everybody has different things they need to do. So tailor this to your need. But the point of having a schedule written out like this is to stick to a schedule written out like this. So that way, everything gets done. And at the end of the day, it's the end of the day, and you're not still working because maybe you didn't really do much here. Maybe you didn't actually have a schedule. Maybe you decided to, I'm going to actually walk over here, then I'll walk my dog again, or, whatever it might be. Oh, my friend called. Let me talk to my friend. Wait, hold it to the end of the day. Those things are for after work, not during work. So that is a good way to ensure success and mental clarity through this whole process, separating it with a hard line. Also, physical health has a lot to do with your mental health. If you don't feel good physically, you're not going to feel good mentally. So try to make sure you're sitting in an ergonomic position. It sounds silly, but anybody who's been sitting down for more than a week, I feel, especially that's my age, will then know, like, yeah, yeah, it's very important to do that. Make sure you're sitting properly. You're not bending down, craning your neck. You're aligned entirely, just like the picture on the right. So another thing you can do for your physical health to help that out is to get up and move. You want to make sure you're walking, you're stretching, you're really taking care of your body. Go outside, get some fresh air. You're staring at a screen sometimes for hours. You're only looking about 3 feet in front of you. You want to make sure that that distance is still challenged so your eyes can stay in check. Pump yourself up sometimes before a call, or if you need a little bit more motivation, maybe just get moving. Do some jumping jacks or do some squats sitting there. Um, all of these things you'll find your own, but I hope this helps when you're trying to think about how you feel mentally, because all these things have been proven to boost endorphins and boost mood and boost feelings and reduce stress. So it will help you. I mean, it has helped me. I'd highly recommend it. And another thing is, I want to leave this open to anybody attending who would like to do so and grab lunch. Would love to grab lunch with any of you folks. Just shoot me an email. It's really easy, dave@weavy.com. We'll hop on a Zoom. We'll make it work. We'll get to know each other, have a little human interaction, and share some food, but not literally because it'd be hard to pass you my food over Zoom. But one day they'll figure that out. Have a great one, and we'll hope to see you at the next one. Stay strong.